May 1945. World War II in Europe has ended. Across America, thousands of German prisoners of war receive the news they've been waiting for. They can finally go home. But for many German women held in U.S. camps, their response shocked American officers. They didn't want to leave. Most Americans don't know that during World War II, the United States held not just male soldiers, but also German women as prisoners of war. These weren't combatants. They were civilians caught in extraordinary circumstances. Some were arrested in Latin America, suspected of espionage or Nazi sympathies. Others were crew members of German ships captured at sea. Still others were wives and daughters of German officials, detained for security reasons. They were sent to internment camps in Texas, North Dakota, and other locations across America. What they found there would change their lives forever. The conditions in American POW camps shocked the German prisoners. Unlike the concentration camps in devastated cities of Europe, these facilities provided adequate food, medical care, and relatively humane treatment. When we arrived, we couldn't believe it. They gave us 3 meals a day. Real food. Coffee. We had beds with clean sheets. Some of us hadn't seen such things in years. The Geneva Convention guided American treatment of POWs. The women worked in camp kitchens, laundries, and gardens. They received wages, attended educational classes, and even participated in recreational activities. Many were allowed to work outside the camps, in hospitals, farms, and factories facing labor shortages. They interacted with American communities, seeing firsthand a country untouched by bombs and starvation. But back in Germany, a different reality waited. By 1945, their homeland was in ruins. Berlin, Hamburg, Dresden, entire cities reduced to rubble. Millions were dead. Millions more were displaced, starving, homeless. The Nazi regime had fallen, but chaos remained. Soviet forces occupied the eastern zones, bringing their own harsh occupation. Food was scarce. Disease was rampant. The Germany these women remembered no longer existed. My sister writes that our house is gone. Our city is destroyed. Mother has not been heard from. There is no food. She says, "Don't come back. There is nothing here." In the summer of 1945, American officers began the repatriation process. They gathered the German women and delivered the news they assumed would be welcomed. "You can go home now." But the response wasn't what they expected. "Officer, you'll be processed for return to Germany within the month." Prisoner, "Sir, I don't want to go back." Officer, "I don't understand. Don't you want to go home?" Prisoner, "Home to what? There is nothing left. Please let me stay." The requests multiplied. Women begged for permission to remain in America. They wrote letters, filed petitions, sought any legal avenue to avoid returning to the devastation waiting across the Atlantic. These women faced an impossible dilemma. Germany was their homeland, their language, their culture. But it was also a country in ruins, occupied by foreign powers, where survival itself was uncertain. Some women had lost entire families. Others feared Soviet occupation zones where German women faced systematic assault and brutality. Still others simply saw that America offered something Germany could not: hope for the future. There was Greta, a nurse who had treated American patients and wanted to continue her medical career. Liesel, whose entire family had perished in Allied bombing. Maria, who had fallen in love with an American soldier. But American law was clear. These were enemy aliens, prisoners of war. Regardless of circumstances, they had to be repatriated. The State Department enforced strict policies. Most applications were denied. By late 1946, the vast majority of German POWs, male and female, had been returned to Europe. But some women found loopholes. Those who had married American citizens could stay. Others with special skills needed for the war effort received exemptions. A handful secured sponsorships from American families who vouched for their character. The contrast between the two countries couldn't have been starker. America emerged from the war stronger than ever, its economy booming, its cities intact, its future bright. Germany faced years of occupation, rationing, and reconstruction. When I returned to Hamburg, I didn't recognize it. The street where I grew up was gone. Just rubble. I lived in a basement with 11 other people. We had one meal a day if we were lucky. I thought constantly of the camp in Texas, the food, the safety. I had begged to stay. They sent me back to this. Today, few remember this chapter of World War II history. The story of German female POWs who begged to remain in America challenges our simple narratives of war, of enemies and allies, of victory and defeat. These women weren't Nazis. Most were ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances. They saw America not as a captor, but as a refuge, not as an enemy, but as hope, for those who eventually returned to Germany. Many rebuilt their lives in the new Federal Republic. Some maintained connections with Americans they'd met. A few even returned to the United States decades later as immigrants. Their story reminds us that war creates impossible choices, that humanity can exist even between enemies, and that sometimes the hardest thing isn't being far from home. It's being forced to return when home no longer exists. Between 1942 and 1946, the United States held approximately 425,000 German POWs, including several thousand civilian internees. While exact numbers of women are difficult to verify, historical records document hundreds of cases where female prisoners requested permission to remain in America after the war.